All right, today we are heading somewhere truly incredible. We're going to climb into the clouds to uncover the story of Sigiriya. It's this palace built on a colossal pillar of rock, and believe me, it has some seriously dark family secrets that might just explain why it's even there. Okay, so picture this. You're deep in the heart of Sri Lanka, and this colossal rock just erupts from the forest floor. It's absolutely breathtaking. This is Sigiriya. And yeah, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But it's more than that. It's this sheer-sided monolith that looks like it's from another planet, and you just know it's been guarding some incredible secrets for centuries.
And right away, that's the question that just grabs you, right? I mean, it's one thing to stand on the ground and just stare up at it in awe, but try to imagine the ambition, the sheer effort it must have taken to build not just a fortress, but an entire city complex way up there on the summit. You just have to ask yourself, what on earth would drive someone to do that?
Well, to get to the bottom of it, we've got to jump back in time and really dig into the mystery of the Lion Rock.
So the name itself is our first big clue. Sigiriya, or Sinhagiri, actually means the Lion Rock. And, that wasn't just a name they pulled out of a hat. It came from this incredible architectural marvel they built halfway up the face of the rock. A gateway shaped like a gigantic lion. It was designed to do one thing: inspire total awe, and maybe a little bit of fear in anyone who dared to approach.
And that word, fear, well, it's pretty central to the traditional story of Sigiriya. Because if you believe the ancient chronicles, this magnificent city was actually born from a really dark and bloody family drama.
Okay, so the main character in this whole saga is a guy named King Kashyapa I. The story goes that in 477 CE, he stages a coup, grabs the throne, and then he immediately moves the entire capital from the traditional city of Anuradhapura to this crazy isolated rock. For almost 20 years, he pours everything into transforming it into his personal fortress. But as these stories often go, he ends up meeting his end in a battle against the very brother he cheated out of the throne.
But what's really wild here is just how brutal his rise to power was. The ancient chronicle, the Kulavamsa, it tells us that Kashyapa wasn't actually the rightful heir. He was the son of the king and a non-royal consort. So to secure his claim, he committed the ultimate crime: patricide. Yeah, you heard that right. He had his own father walled up alive.
And that brings us right back to why he would build this fortress in the sky. The whole thing was supposedly built out of pure paranoia. Kashyapa knew that his half-brother Moggallana, the true heir, had escaped to India, and he knew deep down that one day he'd be back with an army looking for revenge. Sigiriya was designed to be the one place nobody could touch him, a fortress against that inevitable day of reckoning.
But here's the twist. For a place supposedly built on fear and paranoia, Sigiriya is, well, it's a place of incredible beauty and absolutely ingenious design. It was so much more than just a fortress. So before you even start the climb up the rock, you're walking through these breathtaking water gardens. And these aren't just any gardens. They're some of the oldest landscaped gardens in the world. They're this perfect, stunning blend of symmetrical pools and fountains, all woven into the natural landscape. And the craziest part? The ancient hydraulic systems they built, this complex network that uses gravity and pressure to move water, some of it still works today during the rainy season. How amazing is that?
Then, halfway up the rock, you get to the main event. What's left today are these two colossal stone paws, but you've got to use your imagination. Picture what ancient visitors saw: a complete, gigantic lion, with its head and shoulders towering over them. And the staircase to the palace, it went right through its gaping mouth. I mean, talk about an intimidating and totally spectacular entrance.
But maybe, just maybe, the most famous marvel of Sigiriya wasn't the engineering at all. It was the art. The entire western face of this massive rock was once a gigantic picture gallery. We're talking hundreds of vibrant paintings that people could see for miles around.
Now, sadly, only a handful of these frescoes have survived. They're tucked away, protected in this little sheltered pocket of the rock. They're known as the Sigiriya maidens, and the way they're painted is just unique. They have this flowing style that gives them a real sense of life and volume. What's incredible is that ancient graffiti found on the site actually talks about there being 500 of these ladies at one point.
And this, of course, leads to one of the biggest mysteries of the whole place. Who are these women? Are they actual portraits of King Kashyapa's queens and concubines? Or are they something more mythical, like apsaras, celestial nymphs, painted to make the king's palace feel like some kind of heaven on earth? The truth is, we just don't know for sure. All right, so as visitors walked past this incredible gallery, they came alongside something called the mirror wall. Get this, the brick wall was coated in this special plaster made with stuff like honey and egg whites and then polished to such a high shine that the king could supposedly see his own reflection in it as he walked by. Pretty cool, huh?
But what happened next is fascinating. Over the centuries, the mirror wall basically became an ancient message board. For hundreds of years after Kashyapa was gone, visitors were so blown away by the beauty of the frescoes that they started writing poems right on the wall. This one, from way back in the 8th century, really captures that sense of wonder, doesn't it?
And then there's this one, which is my absolute favorite. It's from a guy named Buddha. His message is just so relatable, so perfectly human. It's proof that even 1,000 years ago, Sigiriya was a huge tourist trap, and that some people have always been, just a little bit sarcastic. All of which brings us to a really interesting point, because as clear-cut as that story about King Kashyapa seems, well, the stones of Sigiriya might just hold other secrets. And it turns out, not all historians are on board with that official version of the story. So here's the thing. That whole legend of the paranoid, patricidal king, it's just one theory. There are other ideas floating around. Some scholars argue that Sigiriya was never a fortress at all. I mean, look at it. They say its stunning beauty and actually a lack of major defensive structures suggest it was more of a lavish pleasure palace for a playboy king. Then there's another theory that it was a grand project to honor his father, not hide from his murder. And to make things even more complicated, there's evidence it might have been a peaceful Buddhist monastery long before Kashyapa even showed up.
What we do know for sure is what happened after Kashyapa died. The site was given to Buddhist monks, and it served as a monastery for centuries. But eventually, by the 14th century, it was abandoned, and the jungle just slowly swallowed it whole, its story fading into legend. It was pretty much forgotten until 1831, when a British army major stumbled upon the ruins. And even then, it took another century and a half before it was finally recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1982.
When you look down on the summit today, you can still see the foundations of the palace that was once up here. It was literally a city in the sky. It had cisterns for collecting water, royal living quarters, and of course, 360-degree views of the entire kingdom below. It's just an incredible feat of engineering, no matter who built it or why. And so, we're left right back where we started, with that big mystery. Was Sigiriya a fortress born from fear, a magnificent pleasure palace, or a sacred mountain retreat? Maybe it was a little bit of all three. In the end, the rock, it keeps its secrets, leaving the rest of us to just wonder about the true story of this absolutely astonishing kingdom in the sky.